3, 2, 1, 0.
Well. We have got a Miami Heat Denver Nuggets finals. And let me tell you, I'm very excited about it. Not particularly enthused with the Game 7 performance from the Boston Celtics tonight. We'll get to that in a second. First of all, let's give the Heat a lot of credit here for their ability, their mental fortitude, their mental toughness, their spirit, for bouncing back from that, what could have been a devastating Game 6 loss at the buzzer. Coming to Boston less than 48 hours later, and from the jump, really defended well. I thought Jimmy Butler was assertive, aggressive. There was no hesitancy, the thing we talked about last night. And yeah, I think there's a lot to talk about here. So this is going to be Islands in the League Live, presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. We've done a number of these throughout the playoffs. We'll be doing more during the NBA Finals. So my initial reactions, a couple things that I just wanted tactically, and then we'll get into some bigger picture stuff. Tactically, I was trying to wrap my head around this. So, Boston's having trouble scoring. Tatum gets hurt early on. They're missing threes. They're shooting a lot of bad contested threes. And then on the other end, with the Boston Celtics defense, 3 times in the first half, Al Horford is in a deep drop, and Gabe Vincent hits a 3. Kyle Lowry hits a 3. Duncan Robinson hits a 3. It's like very comfortable for them. It was very comfortable. Didn't like that. They eventually made the switch. The other guy that just really stood out was Caleb Martin. And this is where I'd like to issue an apology, because right before the playoffs started, on one of our episodes of Islands in the League, I gave my Batman analogy with credit and help from Jayson Gallagher, our lovely head of content. But I gave my Alfred analogy, essentially saying, yes, Batman needs Robin. Sometimes you need Catwoman. Sometimes you might even need Lucius Fox. But you're going to need an Alfred. And I went through a number of Alfreds in NBA history. At the end of that video, I went through a number of potential Alfreds in this year's playoffs that could help a team win a championship. And at the end of the video, I said, if I didn't mention a player from your team, there's a reason why. And I did not mention anyone from the Miami Heat. And for that, I apologize, because no one could have predicted that the Miami Heat would be going to the NBA Finals, that Caleb Martin would turn into an absolute stud of a shot maker, defensive prowess, the defensive rebound, all the stuff, the hustle plays. Like I was Caleb Martin. Yeah, he's an Alfred for sure. He's a really, really good basketball player. And I've known that for some time now. It wasn't a discredit to him. It was a discredit to my belief in the Miami Heat when this playoffs started. The other thing I want to say about this game, again, the 3-point shooting, 7 of 35 for Boston in Game 6. They shoot 9 of 42 tonight. Heat, 14 of 28. And a lot of what I've heard, a lot of what I've even probably thought to myself at times is, oh, the Heat are getting by with fluky shooting. Or maybe, potentially here, for roughly 80% of the season, they had a fluky shooting stretch where nearly everyone on their roster shot below their career averages from 3. They started shooting well 6 weeks before the playoffs started. And then you basically go from that Chicago Bulls game that they won to get into the playoffs, the playing game. And Max Strus had a big shooting night that night. From then on, they've been fantastic shooting the basketball. Oh, what do you know? They can shoot again. I shouldn't have been surprised. I don't think any of us should have been surprised that Gabe Vincent can knock down shots. Now, the one thing I'll say, and this is where I love Jimmy, because Jimmy's a contrarian and he just likes to troll people. The guy doesn't shoot threes in the regular season. He goes games without even looking at the rim from beyond the arc. And then he gets into the playoffs and he starts taking threes. And then he's Game 7 on the road and he hits 3 big ones, 2 in that third quarter to really extend that lead. And it just felt like outside of Derek White and that it was really most of the second half, but that burst in the third where he got uber aggressive attacking the basket. Outside of that, I just didn't see it. The will and the leadership and the competitiveness and all the stuff from the Boston Celtics. And to be honest with you, as a fan of basketball and as a fan of how the Celtics play when they're at their best, I can't say I'm surprised. I almost feel like it's a fitting end to this season where we've seen a lot of, I guess, the Jekyll and Hyde of a team, the good and the bad. And how does that manifest itself, right, on the basketball court? Because we can all have talking points. How does that manifest itself? Turnovers. Jaylen Brown tonight, 8 turnovers, right? There's a way. Defensive miscommunication. I mean, there was one possession where they botched an easy, it looked like an easy switch. Gabe Vincent got a wide open three, missed it. They got the offensive rebound. They threw it into Bam because they didn't communicate after the offensive rebound. And, he misses a layup. It's like, how many times have we seen that in the playoffs? Now, obviously, tonight was not a close game, so we didn't get to the late game execution where they haven't been particularly good in the clutch during these playoffs. But the point is, we always have said this season, the East is this powerhouse at the top with Philly and Boston and Milwaukee. And literally, Miami gets through 2 of those teams. Now, context matters here. Let's acknowledge Giannis hurt for basically 2 3/4 of a game, or if you want to call it a full 3 games, whatever, because it was very early in game 1. Fine. Still had to beat them. Still had to beat Giannis twice in game 4 and game 5. Jayson Tatum hurts his ankle early in this game. All right, fine. You still have to beat the Boston Celtics in Boston. This is not to take anything away from the Heat. This is actually to acknowledge how difficult their path was, despite these injuries. I'm a little shocked. I'm a little shocked from where I was on this team for the whole season to see them get in the NBA Finals. Now, am I shocked that they won tonight and that they're in the finals based on how they've played in the playoffs? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. This is why I love sports. This is why I love sports. And it happens so often. It happens so often in other sports. It happens in college basketball with high seeds beating, or a 16 seed beating a 1 seed, 15 seed beating a 2 seed, an 11 seed making it to the Final Four. Yay. Just doesn't happen in the NBA. A wild card team in the NFL going on to win the NFL championship, to win the Super Bowl. Just doesn't happen a lot. I think it's great. I really do. In a year where there was more parity than any season since, I believe, 1984, we get an 8 seed in the NBA Finals. I love it. I absolutely love it. Let's, for a brief second, just talk about a couple things. The reason I think look, Denver, again, I'll say this, the same thing I said about the Boston Celtics Miami Heat matchup going into these Eastern Conference Finals. Denver Nuggets, I think, are the better team. I think when they're playing their best, they're the better team than the Miami Heat. In some ways, the Heat make you not play your best. They muck the game up. The zone, which we talked about this morning on the Old Man of the Three Things, it messes with the flow of the game. Think about it every single time. Every single time. Now, obviously, you can drop ATOs after timeout plays against the zone, but every single time Joe Mazzulla calls a timeout and Boston has the ball, first play out, what is Miami Heat in? They're in that zone. It's a shifting zone. It'd be very interesting, I think, in the finals to watch Nikola Jokic figure out that zone or try to figure out that zone. Don't want to give him all the credit. To try to figure out that zone. I'd be fascinated by that. How Miami defends that 2-man action with Murray and Jokic. Who ends up being the Alfred in this series? Is it Caleb Martin again? Is it KCP? Is it Michael Porter Jr.? there's a role player on the Heat, and there's a role player too on the Nuggets, and a role player too on the Heat that are going to make a massive impact on this series. How good can Aaron Gordon be again defensively? I'm assuming he'll get tasked with the Jimmy Butler assignment. How much can Bam give you offensively against Nikola Jokic? How much can he stay out of foul trouble? How willing is Eric Spoelstra to put multiple bodies, bigger bodies, on Nikola Jokic? Can the Heat continue their shooting? I think they can. I'd be willing to bet they can. I think it's going to be a great series with a lot of interesting subplots and a lot of interesting strategies and a lot of adjustments game to game. It's why the playoffs are so great, and I can't wait for this year's NBA Finals. It's been another episode of Islands in the League presented by DraftKings. We appreciate you guys.